Going on, guys? This is such and such back for a second gameplay commentary. I should really go ahead and make the channel before the third video so I have like a name to call myself, because right now I'm just such and such. I'm anonymous. I was thinking about going with the Mustachio Menace, but we'll see if that name's available. Anyway, today's video is going to be about how and why you should really carefully consider your career. Actually, it's not so much of a how. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you my story. And it's really mostly about why your well-being is way more important than any amount of money you can get or any position you can possibly have. Sure, there's people that are out there that have kids and a family and like a large group of people that they need to support. I can't speak from that perspective, but I'll tell you my story. So basically, I was working retail for this particular company that I won't name. And after working retail, I was presented with an opportunity to go ahead and move on to their corporate offices to design for the same company. Now, it was really competitive. There were 3,000 applicants from what I was told, and I was one of the 17 that were selected, which I think is really impressive, especially considering I was the only one without a college degree. Now, prior to this program, I was actually, I was living a great life. I just moved out of my parents' house. I had broken up with a girlfriend who was terrible for me and terrible to me for after about, let's say, 4.5 to 5 years. And since then, I was fucking bitches. I was in my house. Eventually, I stopped fucking bitches, and I got a super hot-ass Colombian girlfriend who treated me like a king. I was living with my best friends, and I had a business on the side on top of work that was doing really well on Amazon. I was selling tons of products every week that I was making myself. I had a thriving eBay business. I was selling Pokemon cards. What else did I have? I had so much good stuff going on, I can't even remember everything. I was riding a bike to work every single day. I was working out consistently. I was drawing. I was engaging in all of my hobbies, and I was just loving life. I was making more money than I ever made. Things were great. Except when I moved on to this corporate position, a lot of that changed. And a lot of what they had asked of me and told me would be the case ended up not coming to fruition, and they basically lied to my face. So within this program, working in fashion, I'm sure you guys know, it's predominantly women as well as gay guys. And I was the only man on my team, and while I don't have proof of this, I do have a feeling that I was treated differently than everyone else because I was a man, although I don't have proof that that is the reasoning. I have absolute proof that they treated me differently. And what I realized about being a man is that much of our value system comes from what we can provide and offer to the world. And oftentimes we misconflate that for a reason to basically invest all of our time into work or a job, and we become workaholics. And that was required for this job, not just because I'm a man who part of his value comes from the work he puts into the world, but also because of the fact that it was required. I was doing like 60 hours a week for this place. And no matter what I did, everything was my fault. And in addition to that, it started to show nice play right there. It started to show itself in other ways. For example, I got to the point to where I just had a complete lack of confidence, and it affected me in such a way to where it was showing in my relationship. And I always, despite this girl like loving me and treating me like a king, as I mentioned, I started to feel as if she wasn't liking me anymore. And I became really like self-conscious about it. And in addition to that too, my lack of confidence wasn't completely due to the fact that I was being told I was failing at my job, because there are people who were promoted who I was objectively better than, right? Like they were asking me for help. They didn't have as many hours as I did, which motivates me now in the future to just work harder. But at the time, it was like a crushing blow. And I broke up with my girlfriend, and in retrospect, it was probably just because I felt like I didn't want to have another aspect of my life where I was failing. And she always wanted to go hang out with her family and stuff. She always wanted to do all these different things. And at the end of the week, I just wanted a fucking day off. I was supposed to be working 5 hours a week at 40 hours, but it became 60 hours at about 6 or 7 days a week because of the fact that I had a project. Every new employee has to do a project that's to be presented in front of the whole company, and they didn't give me any time to work on that at the office, so I had to take it home with me. And every other person got that time. And when I complained about it, they tried to do some illegal activities in rebalancing my hours, which is illegal. You're not allowed to take time away from me because I worked more time in the past, at least in New York City. And they also started blocking me out of work group chats. I can go on and on about the things they did, but basically that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point, and in addition to this too, my best friends who I was living with, one of them became a serious drug addict and was leaving the house a dirty mess. There were roaches, there was beer spilled on the floor all the time. It was just like a really uncomfortable living situation. And at this also, simultaneously, I'd come to I discovered some personal facts about my life that basically, made it clear to me that about like certain abuse I had experienced as a child related to drugs. And all of this was super compounding. And I know that really like the root of my feeling of worthlessness really was just the fact that I was feeling that way for 60 hours a week, all day, every day at work. But then I went on this trip and I saw how people were doing things that, well, I couldn't fathom. In countries like Thailand, Laos, like Indonesia, all the places I went, people were working on the side of the road selling bananas in the burning hot sun, barely making $5 a day, which ultimately instilled a feeling of gratitude in me. But that mixed with the fact that I had a job that I didn't appreciate, and just because I saw that these other people have significantly less than I do, doesn't mean that those people were justified in treating me like shit every day, right? But what I learned is that, it's not just about your job, but I guess like the way that you occupy your time really does kind of influence your mindset, and therefore it's really important to make sure that you're not only around people that are good to you, but in an environment that's healthy. So going forward, I've thought really hard about what that looks like for me. And my career in fashion will be in men's fashion because men consume less fashion, so as a result, I won't be working 60-hour weeks. So things will be much more relaxed. But in addition to that, too, I'll be around probably a more diverse group of people instead of just women, and therefore, I will have a voice. I would really recommend to you guys that when you pick a job, you don't just consider the money, you consider what it means for your life, you consider the culture that's there. One of my favorite questions is basically the question as it is when you get to the point in a job interview where they say to you, hey, do you have any questions for us? I love to say, yeah, tell me about the culture. What is it like working with you guys? And some people don't even know how to answer that question, which is a bad sign. But I personally am just looking to hear that there's a sense of camaraderie. I don't need there to be all these group outings and things. I just need to be appreciated. But there you have it, guys. This is, I don't think I actually have the score up on this one, but I believe it is a 76-11 gameplay, or 77-11. I do have another 76-11 on Villa coming up that I'm going to show you guys. Great gameplay. So many flag caps and the gameplay coming up. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out of here. Peace.